everyone, Duane Cotton here with DuaneCotton.com. Hey, you probably figured this out because I talk about it quite a bit, but I used to be in the heating and air conditioning business. Now we're in the building industry, real estate. I do mostly real estate, but we still build stuff here and there and do some commercial renovations, but I got my start in the heating and air conditioning business. I was actually hired in 1990 to be a service technician trainee or service technician in training. Now, most people in the heating and air conditioning business, unfortunately, get hired into the install department and then they potentially work their way to service, where I was lucky enough to go around that, right? Just personal preference. I didn't want to crawl underneath houses every day. Nothing wrong with it. It just wasn't for me. But the guys that do it, they do it every day and they do a great job. It is a skill that is invaluable in today's market. So, but when I was hired in 1990, it was a very clear vision. The guy that hired me, Jim, my service manager, he told me, when you come back, first of all, let me start from the beginning. He said he didn't need anyone without experience in the service department. And so I'd been going to a local community college for heating and air conditioning. And I asked him one simple question as I was getting ready to leave, the one question that changed my entire career. I said to him, if no one will hire me, then how am I supposed to get experience? And so he kind of looked at me like Jim would, tilted his head a little bit and said, when can you start? Because he saw right there my willingness, not to just walk out the door, but to fight in a professional way, to show interest, to show fire that I wanted this opportunity. And I think right then and there, he knew that I was going to bring it. 2 weeks later, I got canned, I should say, from my employer because I finally told them, hey, I'm going to be leaving. And they cut me loose. So, funny thing, before I left, Jim said, hey, but when you come back, I want your hair off your collar. Now, I didn't have a mullet, and this was in 1990, so there was still a few mullets around. I just had long hair in the back, but I had to cut my hair off. Now, there are some people that will, if you tell them they have to cut their hair to get a job, they'll tell you to stuff it. They're not going to do it, and their hair is more important. Well, to me, I knew exactly what was important. I had a mission. I had a vision. I decided that heating and air conditioning, for whatever reason, was going to be my ticket to financial independence. Now, that might sound like a non-traditional way to go, but for me, it was my plan. It was what I wanted to do. And so about 3 weeks total, from the first interview until the day I started working at this company, and I was training with some of the best people in the world, and it was just a great opportunity for me. Fast forward 10 years, and I left that company and started my own business. Now, when I say left, that sounds great, right? Until you figure out that I was trying to quit and the guy I was working for was trying to fire me. It wasn't Jim. Jim was a great guy. He had retired since then. But the owner of the company at that time and I had disagreement. So I was going out the door, whether it was voluntarily or forced, but either way, I had to leave. So I started my heating and air conditioning company that day. I started it with a pickup truck and a green Rubbermaid container. I put my tools in it, put it in the back of the truck, and just prayed that no one would open the lid of that and see my tools there and steal it because, hey, I'd be out of business. Now, remember, I didn't have enough money to buy a toolbox that would lock for the back of the truck. So, long story short, I started my business, and what I started doing was I had this fire, I had this desire. No, there was no way that I was going to take no for an answer. I was going to succeed. Look, I knew the skill. I had the skill. I knew the technique. I was going to make this happen. What I did not know was how to start a business. But I had this vision for the years where I thought that I would be. Okay, after so many years working for this other company, if I started my company, what would it look like? Would I get invoices first? Would I get insurance? Who would I call? Who would help me with this? And so I started by getting a city business license and then contractor's license and insurance. And this is stuff that I started working through to get. And it was kind of hard, right? Hindsight, it'd been nice to have all this stuff planned. Of course, it's a lot easier now Information is much more accessible now than it was in in 2000. So when I started this company, it was great. I built from that truck to a used Chevy Astro van. Even I'm a Ford guy, but that van did it for me. I didn't have racks and bins and shelves in it, so all my stuff was all over the back. It looked like a the truck had flipped over and all my tools were all over the back. And one job led to another, and then I was able to get a new van. Now, funny thing about that, when I went to the local bank, there was a local bank, and I'll keep their name out of it, but they told me they didn't have any programs for me, that I didn't fit whatever category that they would loan money to, and the SBA stuff was this long, drug-out process. So I was lucky enough to find a banker who believed in me. I got my first new van, and then, of course, in the future, we were buying vans with cash, and then I would turn around and finance them later because I could get a better deal cash on a commercial vehicle, and then I would finance them later. So this banker gave me an opportunity that I'm forever grateful for her and to her for giving me that chance. But we built business with the desire from service. So I had an idea that if we created a company based on service, if we had nothing but the total service package, that if I provided a service that no one else could provide, okay, no, not my competition's not going to do it, and unless somebody starts a new company that's going to provide better service, we were going to be it. And we started to implement that. Now I say we, there was one other person working with me at the time. And of course, that grew, that business grew and it grew and it grew. And next thing you know, I have 21 employees. This is 7 years later. I have 21 employees, 18 trucks on the road, making multiple seven figures, and I sold that company. One of the things we're doing on this channel is teaching people, or at least showing you, how did I build a company from the beginning and build it throughout and build it to sell. I built a company, and this is what I figured out later, that was very awesome. It was good enough to sell. And you should think about building your company. If you're not in business yet, consider when you start, create every single thing around this company. Could you sell it one day? Now, you might never sell. You might not want to do that. But the one thing is, if you build a company that someone will pay you for and pay you a decent amount of money for, then it is a money-making machine with assets. You want to make sure that the company is, the P&L's right. You want profit, you want assets, and you don't want your debt to income to be out of control. You want to be in control of your business. You want to drive the finances. You want to drive the direction, the vision for this company, okay? And who you hire and how many people you hire. All of this is based on one thing. That one thing is the quality of service that you provide. You see, when you give someone value, when you give them value that no one else is giving, you can charge a little bit more for that. When you provide a service that no one else is given, and you provide a service with accuracy, least amount of callbacks, people like you, you have a rapport, your tonality, how you talk to people, right? The total package. When you have that total package, to your clients are going to love you, especially in this day and age. You know, how you park your vehicle at the street can affect someone's opinion of you, your first impression. And you know, if your client doesn't live on a busy road, for example, you need to park out at the curb on the street. You don't want to park up on the curb. You want to park neatly. You want to have some nice threads on, hopefully a uniform, and a tool bag or a toolbox. Most of people use some of the like Husky tool bags. Those are really cool. Even backpacks now, the commercial style service backpacks. But a bucket with your tools in it is not cool, right? You shouldn't go to a house like that. Don't walk across the yard, walk up the driveway. You might think, well, what's that got to do with running a successful business? It has everything to do with providing service that a lot of people aren't offering. Of course, now we have boot covers, right? So when you get to the door, you knock on the door. The first thing they see is someone standing there that looks like, hey, they have some sense. They're squared away. They have on nice clothes, a uniform. They have their tools there, and you know, a nice greeting. Hello, how are you doing? My name is, and I'm with, and we're here to check your heat or your AC. Maybe you make a simple comment. If you see a certain type of art on their wall or hobbies, you can tell obviously that they have hobbies, or whatever the case may be. One simple comment to build rapport. Just let them know you're human and you're not just there to fix their heat or fix their AC, or if you're a plumber or electrician, do the water heater, water leak, or electrical repair. That you have a personality. And so what happens is when you break the ice, when you walk in the door and you break the ice and you make that comment about something in general, as they're talking to you, you need to be looking around. Look at the ceiling. If you're in the heating and air business, look at the ceiling, look at the floor. Where are the vents? Where are the supply registers? Is the return up high or is it down low? Do you see the thermostat from where you're standing at the front door? You're getting sort of a sense of, in a split second, a snapshot. You're getting an idea of what you're working on. And hopefully when you pulled up to the house, you looked on the roof. Was there a flue pipe? Did they have a brick chimney? And, other houses around there, do they have flue pipes on the roof? Can you tell if it's gas or not? Now, in this day and age, hopefully when your office, if you have an office staff, they're taking the call, you know what you're going to. But there was plenty of cases in the past that we just knew where we were going to fix somebody's heat or AC, and we didn't know what they had. So that first impression, and what happens is when you walk up to the furnace in their garage, or the AC in the backyard, or the heat pump, or it's in the attic, wherever the equipment's located, you have a sense, okay, you know where the supplies are, where the returns are, you get it, right? You have this idea. And it helps with the diagnosis, the time on diagnosing the problem. And so creating a service is not just a technique and the tools that you have to do the job. It's how you park your van, how you greet yourself at the door, and how fast you can assess what they have going on in their house. And you're here to speed up the process. Obviously, that's going to get you to your next job quicker. And then in the process of not forgetting the obvious, you're going to cut your callbacks greatly. So I built a business on that principle as from the service department. Now, there's a lot more to business. I can assure you, we're going to talk for probably 500 videos about how I created that company and how you can do something very similar. But this is where it began. I didn't overthink it. I knew that if I provided a service to that one client and they referred me without a lot of advertising dollars, that's what I needed. I needed referrals. I needed people to talk. Hey, call this guy because he's great, has a personality, does his job, does it well. That's where it began with me. So my one thing was service, and I wanted to repeat that quality, and I wanted to give it to other people. I wanted to give it to their friends and their family that they referred me to. I wanted to build the referral business within my heating and air conditioning business because, hey, I didn't have the money like 6 years later spending almost $100,000 in phone book ads, because at the time, that's where you invested your money, was in the phone book. Of course, now life is different now. Now we're all over the internet and social media sites. And how do we target our market? And of course, now you're able to target, whereas the phone book was static. You printed an ad, it went out to houses. Every house was going to get one that had a phone, or just about everyone. So at least they had access. Now, whether they used that to call you or not, it's kind of irrelevant. But we made quite a bit of money on that phone book. Well, now the modern day phone book is, in my case, I think social media. Obviously, it's the internet in general. So it's a little bit different now, but it's still, we can look at the tools that we have available to us now, and how would you start your business, or how are you going to start your business now? And that's something I want to help you with. But if I tell you how I started mine, and kind of this rustic kind of way of doing it, we can repeat that process today with a few tweaks where you advertise stuff. Just a few tweaks in the techniques and the tools and the apps that you have to help manage and schedule your calls. I'm going to tell you right now, you have an advantage right now over me back in 2000. And of course, when I sold my company in 2007, it was a little bit different than now. But I have stayed in the loop. I have stayed teaching and coaching and building other companies for myself. a building company, a real estate company, a real estate investing company. These are all things, look, heating and air, and it's a different skill set, but it is not that much different in general. So Mr. Gavin is going to turn the camera off, and on the next video, we're going to talk about phase 2 or step 2 of when you start your heating and air conditioning company. Other than providing quality service, what should you do to expand your business? See you.